Hi, welcome to the Deadlight review, one take review. So it's at £4,000 those gifts cost, and I loaded up the Deadlight because someone recommended it to me as a recent title, and it wasn't until I finished it that I realised that it was actually out last year on Xbox, on fucking Xbox of all things. It was on Xbox Arcade last year. It's a lot of the, instead of cutscenes, they've cheaped it, as a lot of games seem to do these days, and just put drawings and texts and voices on it. And the art style and the cutscenes is pretty good, but it doesn't quite match the crispness and the attention to detail that you have in the main game, because it's a looker, isn't it? The environments are pretty impressive. And the voices, as I said the word voices, which reminded me that I wanted to talk about the voices. The voices and the voice action's pish. Total fucking rubbish. Your main guy, Randall, he fucking sounds ridiculous. Sometimes you're in cutscenes. He has flashbacks, Randall. Sometimes you're in cutscenes. And if he speaks first, you think he's talking to you. You think he's putting on his gritty narration voice, but he's actually talking to another character. It sounds so ridiculous that he would interact with other humans with that stupid voice he has. But luckily, all the other characters are just as bad at acting, so it all kind of meshes together like a big messy mesh. It's a side-scrolling platforming game. That's a bug I found in the game. That building's meant to light up when you step into it, but it doesn't. So I had to turn the game off and start again. It's a side-scrolling platforming game. Very much reminds me of the early Prince of Persia games. It kind of plays a bit like that. And my favourite, something that has in common with The Last of Us, is my favourite. That's how I get rid of zombies. I get their attention, and then I hang off a ledge and they just fall past me. See, it's not the action in it. It's supposed to be an action platformer, and the action in it isn't that great. The combat's pretty much fucking diarrhea, to be honest. I'm going to do exactly the same thing again. A room full of zombies, I'm just going to hang there and let them all stupidly flop out in front of me. Which isn't great. It ruins the tension a wee bit. Doing that, it was a wee bit cheeky of me. But yeah, the action's crap. It's not great at all. Using your guns, pretty satisfying, but like The Last of Us, it's not something you're supposed to do over and over again. They do kind of ration your ammunition. This is one of the flashbacks that your main character has, your daft main character has. Kept thinking about The Last of Us because that's recently, I've played like 3 post-apocalyptic games: The Walking Dead, the Telltale one, The Last of Us, and now this, just in quite a short space of time, and it had me thinking, why are there so many of these? What is it? What is it about the gamer's psyche that makes this kind of experience interesting? And it had me thinking quite a lot about that. And I think, it could be many things. It could be, I think it's quite deep rooted, is the way I feel about it. Hang on. Just unlock the iPad again. I think it could be quite deep. I'll be back in a minute. Just bear with me. Deep rooted that to be. I think to fantasize about the apocalypse is a very strange thing, and you would think it would have to come from quite a dark place, but I don't. I'm not entirely convinced that it does, because I think it just, like, when you're growing up and things like that, you get, you grow up and when you're a child, I'm talking about, you get a lot of encouragement, and you have a constant feeling of achievement, and you feel as if you're always learning, and you're doing good things, and you're being congratulated, and it's all good stuff. And then you grow up and all of that stops, and nobody says well done anymore. And if the apocalypse came, just surviving, that would feel like a real achievement. And there's so many people in the world nowadays, it's difficult to do anything original, as this video will testify to. And if you survived the apocalypse, then you'd have a lot less rivals. And thinking about the amount of people that were on planet Earth would be less terrifying. Of course, they would be replaced by these zombies. Should be able to climb over that truck there, but they can't. Yeah, there would be less people would be replaced by zombies, but zombies are fucking morons. So you'd in the apocalypse, you would instantly become. You'd go up the list of Earth's great authors, for example, because Stephen King's no surviving an apocalypse. That cunt's nearly done anyway. Never mind zombie attacks. No, so just surviving on. I mean, the chances are of in a zombie apocalypse, the chances are most of the people that are listening to this surviving are pretty slim, probably. There's one around those nice flashbacks there. Lovely, isn't it? Very, very pretty stuff. Probably should be talking about the game more than this, to be honest. But I think there's two forces at work, because on the one hand, you have the fact you have to be able to appreciate the moment, the right here and now, to be happy, which is much more difficult than you were told growing up. In fact, you wouldn't even be able to explain a concept like that to a child. And the second is there's too much chaos in the world. It's too much to deal with. So I think those things contribute to why you fantasise about the apocalypse. You don't fantasise about the apocalypse, do you? It's just me. I've embarrassed myself. Okay. Deadlight. It's visually I don't really have that much to say about it. It's visually impressive. The action's a bit crap. There's a level in it where you're in a sewer maze that has a lot of traps in it and stuff. That was pretty cool. This section I fucking despised, because the style of as pretty as it is, the style of the art, and it doesn't really lend itself well to spotting things. So sometimes it's easy to miss. Like this particular section after this, I was meant to roll through a hole in a fence, but I couldn't fucking see it was a hole in a fence, so I tried to climb the fence, and I must have done the section about a dozen times. It'd probably be in this footage. No, I've died before I even fucking got to it. Oh, it must have been more than a dozen. I'm talking shite. Dozens of times I've done that, but just because I couldn't spot what to do. So I quite liked it. It's very brief, Deadlight. But still thinking about. I tell you what I'll do. Right, what I'll do is I'll to try and inspire myself to have something more to say about these post-apocalyptic games. I'm going to put in some Last of Us footage. There you go. That cheers me up no end. Looking at that. It's no, it's extremely unfair to compare Deadlight to The Last of Us, but the setting is similar, so they brought it on themselves. Been thinking a lot about The Last of Us as well. I watched that terrible documentary that they'd made about it, but it still had enough to really impress me, because it showed me a glimpse of the way they make it sounds and it looks an awful lot like Druckmann, the writer of The Last of Us, works and what I had always imagined the way Kojima would work, in so much as he gets to follow the story. People are reporting back to him constantly to keep them on the right track, which is obviously the way that the games should be made. Still doesn't mean you're going to get a great written thing at the end of it. Obviously you still need a good writer, but that process is very impressive. But as I say, it's unfair to compare Deadlight to that, but it attempts to do that thing with the flashbacks of the main character. You're meant to think about the turmoil and how could people cope in such a situation, and it wants some emotion from you, and it fails in that regard miserably. Of course, The Last of Us doesn't fail in that regard. Have I mentioned that I quite like The Last of Us? Had me thinking about that's very impressive, that environment, isn't it? Whoever spent a month making that, pat yourself in the back. It's lovely. And very tidy for an apocalypse. Yeah, the ending of The Last of It had me think about that again. Just how perfect it is. How perfect and imperfect it is. It's just as work of a very accomplished writer. Because was it selfish? Was it selfish of Joel to lie? Because if they'd made that vaccine, they would have saved humanity. But look at what humanity there was in the game. Look at the human monsters. Are they the real monsters? Right on. They're no, the monsters are the real monsters. The humans are human. Are saving they cunts worth one selfless child? I think he thinks that by saving her, he saved himself. But that's again what I loved about the ending. That's what the genius of it was. That I think I think that's why they made the decision to switch control over to Ellie, because then at the end I'm completely ruining the end of the game for you here. At the end, when you switch over to Ellie and you get to listen to Joel speaking, and you get to reflect on who, and you realise that you don't know who this guy is. The man that you know was the murderous maniac that you'd been going on your holidays with. So when he's talking about his past and stuff, he's talking as if he could just rewind the clock, which isn't the case. And you realise that Ellie wouldn't think like that. So there is a kind of tragedy to the ending of The Last of Us, because you think it's a happy ending, but you realise that Ellie's not going to be hanging around for Joel all this time. She's going to have she's a very independent woman. She's going to move on. She's going to change. She's going to grow up, and Joel isn't going to be able to handle that. And he hasn't realised this, I don't think. I think that's the tragedy in it. I'm sure all of this will be resolved in The Last of Us 2. The Laster of Us. But the Deadlight was nice, though. It was nice and stylish. I really, 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 really liked this bit. And you've seen it now, so yeah, I fucked it for you. Yeah, it's nice and stylish, Deadlight. But action's crap. Writing's terrible. The voice acting is atrocious. But it's brief. At least it's brief. I think, if you fancy the look at it, have a bash at it. But how long's this? Fucking 14 minutes. Yeah, the post-apocalyptic world thing fascinates me. I might continue talking at it at length another time. I maybe should do it now in case I die. I probably won't die. Okay, bye.